Hey, I'm Jacob. I play classical music.
And kind of the vice versa. I do a lot of dubstep, DJ productions, electronic, and all that.
And this is the Otaku Topic Podcast.
So, we've been watching and doing a few things, and it took us a while to actually agree on what to do this week. And, just to get into that for a second, before we start our kind of general review that we always do, we were going to, at first, have a discussion about the week of anime, kind of all the otaku culture, everything going on that would be interesting to talk about. But we both came to an agreement that this season is kind of, how would you put it?
In the words of word of Nux Taku, garbage.
I will say there's some good stuff. Fire Force Season 2.
Yeah.
So I forgot the name of the basketball anime. I've been enjoying that one.
I haven't seen it. What's it called?
Sorno Basket. I don't remember. Don't at me. I just like it. I'm bad with names. But, I heard there's a few shows that are worth the watch, but there just wasn't enough to go on that I would have enough to discuss. So, I guess in this season, if you had to recommend anything in this season, and it is pretty limited, what would you recommend?
Fire Force Season 2, most definitely. God of High School, not Tower,
Okay.
God.
Last season.
But God of High School looks promising. I would describe it like, it's God of High School. I would describe it like a shonen that starts at the tournament arc.
Yeah, I've heard that. I have yet to actually start it. Been pretty busy getting ready for college and stuff, but I do hear good things about that. One that I did watch and get a little bit into was Re:Zero Season 2. Been excited for that. I watched the first season. We're on clashes on that. I'm trying to convince him to give it a chance. Say what you will. I know some people don't like the main character, but I thought it was a great season. I thought it was a great show, and I am excited to see how Season 2 develops the story. I've read a little bit into it, but we'll see that. Now, we discussed watching a few series. We scratched that because we were both too busy. And then we were like, okay, well, we haven't done a movie in a while, so why don't we choose a pretty good movie that we liked and we talk about that. Okay, so I gave him 3 options. I did, so if you don't like it, blame him. So you want to introduce what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, Makia. I would just say Makia is a pretty interesting movie, kind of like I almost want to say like a coming of age, but except for a mother. That's a weird way to think about it, but I'd say like a mother coming into her own and like, and just exploring like what it would be like to be a mother that lives longer than her child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the themes, and we'll get into those as we go on. So I did discover this one by chance. I actually watched 2 films that I'll briefly talk about before this one. I watched The Girl That Leapt Through Time, and I watched Wolf Children. And while I loved both of those, and I thought they were both great movies, I knew people have seen Wolf Children. It's a pretty big one. And so I didn't really want to, our goal is to try to show people stuff they wouldn't normally see. And with the other movie, The Girl That Leapt Through Time, I don't know, I was mixed on it. I actually liked it, but I didn't feel like I could give it a review that I wanted to. I think it's something I had to let settle. Would I tell people to watch it? Sure. Same with Wolf Children. But this movie was a little special. I found it after the fact, like in a panic to try to find something for us to talk about. And I was like, I'll just give this random movie a try. I've never heard about it. I asked my friends that watch a lot of anime as well. None of them had ever seen it. So I was like, what? It's perfect. If it's bad, then I can just bash on it. If it's good, well, then maybe we can show a hidden gem to the world. It's not a super new anime, but it's not old. I think.
I want to say 2018.
Yeah, I think it was 2018 was the production. So, with that being said, it does have some pretty visuals, and we'll talk about that. It is a nice movie. I don't think it really drags too bad in any parts, and overall, just to give a summary for anyone that wants a quick one, it is a good movie, and there's a lot I can say on it. Is there some things I we'll probably bicker on. Yeah, I definitely don't think it's a perfect movie, but we'll get into that. So, one thing you would like to kind of delve deeper into and pick about the movie?
I would say like the obvious thing is just the motherhood and like what that means, what it means to be a mother, and what it's like for maybe those that aren't taught what that means.
I think one of the best things in that movie, because to give a quick synopsis, the movie is kind of like what you're saying about motherhood. Basically, a girl adopts a son from a very early age that isn't hers, and the movie kind of tackles that as its main theme. How does that relationship develop? Where does it go from there? Now, there's a lot going on in the movie, especially that beginning part. We're gonna keep this mostly spoil free. So, what makes that relationship the key of the story? That's kind of what I was interested in, right? And so, to me, again, you have all this action going on. The story is multi-layered. But they hit the nail on the coffin with that relationship because it's just like developed in a way that you don't see a lot of things, especially movies that are short, get that. I mean, it's almost like you see an entire series worth of growth.
Yeah.
There's rushing. It's a movie. But I really like how we take segments of their life and we build this relationship. It's a character study almost. I say that a lot, but I love to use that as an example. What is your take on that?
I would say just like again, just another good opportunity to see what it's like for somebody that didn't have that, like a fish out of water, so to speak. And it's awesome to see, like you said, a multi-layered story, and I see like I couldn't get all the story. And that's one thing I saw in another review. Like, you kind of have to watch it multiple times to see the things that happen. Because it's all, like, just, put together, condensed. And it's just, like, one thing I didn't really understand what was going on with those dragon creatures. And I kind of saw that it maybe had was almost like a parallel or kind of a story beat going on with that. And just, like, how I guess they would kind of use to show the passage of time, too, a little bit. But, what are your thoughts on the Renata?
Renata, that's the bad with names. You have the dragons, or
the big dragon.
Okay, so I actually like that theme because, and I think the line that best defines that in the story is when one of the characters says, "All like ancient things must die," because I think that's a theme of the story that's really important to know on. The story is about time, in a sense. It tackles what the hardships of that can be and what the good things about that can be. And so, the core message that those dragons, I'm bad with names, bring to the story is they pin the nail on the coffin with almost literally with the with that idea that eventually all ancient things, all old things will die. Now, is that sad? Is that good? Is that bad? That depends. Again, without spoiling stuff, that's good in the case where one thing's destroyed, if you get what I'm saying. It's sad that you see the end of something else, and then of course it's horrible that without spoiling, I'm trying to figure out how to word this, but you know what I'm saying, when a people have to meet their end, and that's really one of the final messages that's really good. Is like how relationships start and end, how they're developed, and why, like, no matter what, why building relationships and having personal connections with people is ultimately a good thing.
You can argue that they last longer than a lifetime almost.
It's almost like a pet. That's almost what it is, because this is like said in the first 5 minutes, so I'm minor spoiler. The main character, her people, they like don't age, right? They're almost immortal. I think they do die, but it's like very, very long time for them. English, but if you look at a more realistic example, imagine you have a pet. You only have it for so long because our lifespans are so much longer, but you're not gonna forget that. You usually buy, adopt, whatever you want to say, a pet, knowing that you're gonna outlive it, and you're gonna go through that pain because you're gonna build a bond with it. So why do we do it? Because the relationship's worth it. The ending doesn't necessarily eradicate the justification of what else there is. You kind of see what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And I think the strongest message in that story, the reason why I loved it so much, is because it tells people that, endings are not, and this is not just like death. That's not exactly what we're saying here. But like the end of things don't have to be sad. They will be, they can be, but the lessons you learn, the things you teach, always will be with you, no matter what.
And like the end of things don't make the beginning and the whole relationship. We don't make it pointless. It was a reason.
Mm-hmm. Another theme that I really liked, and this is kind of going with the motherly theme, is what is family, what is mother? Because again, the synopsis of the story is this immortal being adopts a child. Right? I'm not going to go into circumstances of why and what happens, but that's the main kind of story going on. So that being said, even though it's an adopted mother, one of the things it tackles is what does that mean? And I really like that because while I've always had a very loving mother figure and I've never had to worry about that, I can say the same thing about father figures. What makes a father? Because I don't think it's necessarily just bloodline. Of course, respect and all that is masterful, but it's almost like how a grandpa can be just as much of a father figure to you than a father. I'm not saying necessarily to people that don't have father figures in their life. I'm just saying like those things don't have to be the staple, the norm, especially for people that don't have it, though. I will say that. What are your thoughts on that?
So, what's the question?
So, what is your idea on how the movie tackles the relationship that is not a biological connection? Basically,
the way I see like love and like mothership. I mean, being a mother, being a father, and love in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's like love is action, and love is how you like look out for somebody else. You want to protect somebody. You want to feed them, clothe them. You want to. You care about what their well-being is, and you teach that love to somebody else, and then it carries on.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that that's something I think is a very beautiful message for people to realize and to learn, especially nowadays, especially with things going on. That's all I'm going to say there. Is that, love is not necessarily something that is given, like from birth or just expected, but it's something how do I put this? It's something you give up to somebody else. It's almost a loss, but in the most, I guess, beautiful way you can give it. That's what real love is, and that's what this movie kind of teaches, I think. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'll say this. Soundtrack. We've been talking about this. Did you pay more attention this time?
Yeah, I did.
What are your thoughts?
I did. I like the sort of that fantasy sort of thing. I dig that. I thought it was nice. Thought it was especially like that emotional high point at the end. I can tell the music kind of came in strong. Yeah. I wish I could have got to shed a tear. Like I really wanted to shed a tear.
Oh, but,
yeah. I like that. So I like. That's kind of like if any orchestral thing I like the way that orchestral thing sounds, because some orchestral sounds I don't some orchestra suites I'm not that into. It's just chord structure and like the actual melodies and stuff different people like to use. Sometimes I can't get into it, especially in the instrumentation. It's kind of almost a barrier to me because I'm like in the electronic music and like soul music too. So if it's kind of not in that, if it doesn't have the texture, that's another barrier for me to get into it. But like if it has nice chords and nice melodies, emotional stuff, I like the emotional deep sound and stuff. So that's how the music kind of like it crosses that barrier a little bit.
I got you. I'll say this for both music nerds, if you can't see the music in the background there. So get ready. Here's what I think, and I totally agree. I love what you said because I think it's all true. and this is coming from somebody with an orchestral background, more of a classical music background. I think what they did is super clever because, and hear me out, it is an orchestral type soundtrack, big band, all that, strings, and it really fits what we as, modern day humans perceive fantasy to be, and so it gets this, it really expands the world, in my opinion, and makes it feel like, oh, this new, exciting thing, and they didn't really need to do that because the story really isn't about the world, it's about, relationships. But I did think that the setting of the story was very well put together because of the musical relationship that it has.
I feel like the setting was almost like in the background, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
like
I agree.
In front of behind the mother-son story. Cause
there was all these exciting things. Like, for example, right? And I agree with you, but like, think about all the places they went. They were at the farm, right? And I don't think this is too much of a spoiler to say these. But then they're also in that like mining area, and how drastically different those two scenes are. And there's so much more to the story. And if you pay attention, there's different kind of like motifs and soundtracks that go with it. I'm no musical expert, but I thought it was very well put together.
Oh, I didn't even notice that it different. So it differed a little bit depending on where they were.
Yeah, there's like little, this is more also with sound design and stuff, like the, like for example, when they were in like that mining area or like in a tavern or something, they played soundtracks or effects or even music that you would expect in a fantasy setting, tavern music, mining music. That's simple, but it's not always well done, and I will say bravo to the sound team. Now, this is what I wanted to talk about, to expand on that idea. That was kind of the intro. Again, music nerd. I like it because, kind of like what I said earlier, I think the orchestral thing was the smartest thing for them to do, because in music you have styles, right? And I'm not just talking about genres, like, dubstep to classical to pop, whatever. I'm talking about, you take two different entities. For example, I've been playing a lot of Persona 5, right? Persona 5 uses a lot of, like, jazzy, bluey notes in it, right? A lot of the music is like that, and it's like, it gives the atmosphere this kind of cool, modern story. And you take something else, even in the same franchise, like Persona 4 has a lot more kind of poppy, almost like, I don't want to say K-pop, but that kind of like exciting, kind of cutie kind of music, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It make the two games, even though they're the same franchise, they feel completely different.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so what I'm saying is, I think the music in the movie made it stand out and made it feel like it should have. It made the world alive. Does that make, that's my take on that. Now, artistry, what are your thoughts on that?
Like animation or like
animation.
visual? I mean, it's kind of like the usual, I'll say the anime vanilla 101, I guess you could say, as far as the art style. But you could tell it's just, they don't always look the same.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a Dragon Ball fight scene.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. Now, there were some pretty moments, especially with like some of the flying, later on. Some of the action was pretty actually well done.
I thought it was interesting, like, towards the end there was a bloody battle, like, and it's weird how bloody, not that you would necessarily expect it to be just kind of like a super light movie, because the intro, like the beginning was kind of rough too with what old girl had to do. That was kind of, it was kind of almost a little graphic, but like the fight towards the end, it was like blood and he was slipping and stuff, and that kind of reminded me of something I was hearing another podcast. They was talking about a battle that happened in Alabama, a sea battle. They was talking about how like not a sea, probably a fight on the boat somehow.
Yeah.
But like they was talking about how bloody it was, and they just like it was so bloody you slipped and stuff like that, and I was just like, it kind of took me back to that event in history, and I thought that was just kind of interesting the way it portrayed the violence and stuff like that. And in the show that it was kind of the show, and I think it kind of brought to me like this is a war. This ain't no play. This is war. This is fight for my life sort of situation.
I agree. I don't necessarily think I don't think the animation is It's not a movie you watch just for the animation. All right, it's gonna be controversial now, but why do we watch Dragon Ball? Okay, let's be honest. It's because the fight scenes are cool. I mean, the story's okay. It's good. It's good.
Totally, I mean, we watch it for the comedy, fam. It's a comedy.
I agree. No, I agree. But like, we watch it for the action and the comedy. I mean, the story is like, so I'm not gonna say it's bad because it's not. I mean, we all love it. But the reason everyone gets hyped for Dragon Ball isn't for the scenes where they're sitting there talking to Bulma. It's when freaking they're fighting Broly. By the way, I had no sleep last night. When they're fighting Broly, and you're like, "Whoa, man, this is like the best thing I've ever seen." That's not what this movie is. It's more down to earth, but in a way that I think is still beautiful because it still has motion and flow, like you said, with him slipping and stuff like that. It pays attention to stuff like that. They're creative. They thought about stuff. I think it's good. Nothing to write home about, but it is very. You're not gonna have an eyesore. You're gonna walk out happy.
My only gripe about animation was the CGI. I thought it kind of jarred. It was a little bit jarring. I think it's always jarring when it's like that. And I used to think that was neat because, like, when I was younger, because I just thought it was neat because it's something I didn't see a lot.
Yeah,
But, like, in that context, it just wasn't as... I didn't appreciate it as much.
No, I agree. And, the thing about animation, or anime, I should say, not necessarily animation, because you actually see a pretty decent kind of blend of 2D and 3D within American animation. It's not really done much. We mostly do 3D now, which is... I don't hate it. I think it's definitely its own and beautiful thing.
I think Gumball does it pretty good.
Yeah, but you have stuff like that. That being said, if you look, the issue with anime, and I'm pretty sure I heard this from somewhere, so I'm not going to take credit for this idea, but they never had a Toy Story, right? If you know what Toy Story did, it was literally like the first big 3D animation, right? And because of it, there's a basis of what to expect. There's a example, right? And so you could only get better from there. And it was a good first one. Was it perfect? No, but it was a good first movie. They didn't really have that for anime, so it's in this weird area where I think there's definitely uses of CGI that are just phenomenally good. There's also Berserk 2016's. Yeah. Now, the issue is not really there's so much space in between, and there's not like this one thing that you have to be at least as good as. You know what I mean? On top of that, it hasn't been developed as long as it has in like America, right? With our 3D animations, we've had years and years and years. That's why you got such pretty things and like all these hair physics and stuff. I'm not saying the animators in Japan aren't as talented or they don't do that, but they haven't used it to the anime style, and I think that's the biggest thing. Anime is not meant to be easily blended into 3D because it's it's a flat cartoony style.
Yeah.
So the issue there is figuring out how to make the CGI look flat and cartoony, which I think is still being developed and worked on.
I think Ruby is the best so far that of all my knowledge. I think Ruby is doing it.
No, I think you're right. I haven't caught up to it. In fact, I haven't really watched much of it. From what I've seen, it's stiff, but I'm assuming
you talking about.
I think I made it to season 3, but from what I've seen in current Ruby, it does look quite good. I know people have gripes and complaints and also praises, but I think you're right. I think they do a good blend of like this 3D animation with blend with a 2D fill, and I think that's why we don't like CGI too much in our films, because it doesn't fit the style. It's that uncanny valley. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I guess that's a long way of saying I agree with you, but I do think it's one of those things that criticize, but expect it to get better. I think it will get better. I think one of these days somebody's gonna make a completely CGI anime, and we're gonna be like, what?
They're probably working on it right now in quarantine.
And there are some actually really good, like almost purely CGI animations, like Ajin and stuff. I mean that one's a little shaky, but I thought it was good.
And Naruto, I know this is a game, but Naruto, I think they do a pretty good job on Cyber Connect 2.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They did a pretty good job with that.
I got you. I totally agree. I know, like even Dragon Ball FighterZ, it's not all forgot the name all of a sudden. I'm way too tired. It's not all CGI. Of course, it's like kind of painted on, drawn in, and angled to make it look like it does. But it is like that 3D feel that is really cool. Now, I don't expect the animation to look like that because there was a lot of work put into that game. But you know, it's one of those things like that's what we could get one day, and I think it's good. I think it's important for people not to hate an anime with CGI just because that's CGI. You know, because then they'll never improve.
Right.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we talked about animation, music, and kind of general synopsis. I guess, you know, in your own opinion, how would you kind of like rate this? What would you tell, you know, the audience, the people listening, like, what would you tell them to look forward to in the movie or not to look forward to? Would you steer them towards it or away from it?
I would steer them towards it, definitely, most definitely. It's one of those things, like, it's a good option to see somebody else's foot. What's the word? Shoes. Like, take a step in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah.
And you know, there's people that's single mothers. They have to deal with. They don't know what's going on. They're under resourced and stuff like that. And there are those just like and there's some people that sadly wind up. I don't know. Like, can we kind of get in the spoiler territory a little bit since we're...
You know, yeah, I think we can...
I'll probably wait after this. I'll wait after I say, like, whether I like it or not. But I say, like a 7 or a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's not nothing that... I watched it twice, and I probably won't watch it again until maybe, like, 2 years instead of 1. But, yeah, I think it's a pretty solid film and just a good opportunity to learn and feel.
No, I think I agree. I think I would give it a good rating because it tackles feelings and emotions very well. It's probably one of the closest I've ever come to actually like almost tearing up and crying. I didn't quite get there, but it was definitely like there almost. It was good. It was a good first showing. My only issue is maybe a second time, but after that, there's not really rewatchability. It's not like there's not too many fun things to go back on and enjoy. And then, you know, I do have some gripes with it. I do feel like, you know, as much as I did enjoy the story and the progression of the relation, the actual like concepts of things going on were kind of like, it's like take place here, okay, now take place here, and there was some growth I didn't really get into. Really care for, and there's some actions I was just like, as a viewer I was like, I know they had to do it because they had a lot amount of time. It's a movie, but it's one of those things that I feel like there could have been shown some better development on it. That being said, I think I agree. I definitely wouldn't say it's an average film because I do think it's good, but I can't give it like a great standing or anything like that. So I think a 7.5 is a good rating for it. So.
One thing I thought about when he was talking about the feelings and emotions, I was just, this is kind of a weird, what you call it? What's the word? Analogy. But I would say like cry scenes and slice of life emotional films are like the spirit bombs of slice of life, basically. like spirit bombs to shoulder it is to cry scenes is to slice of life, emotional things.
I got you. Oh my goodness, that's true. It's a build up, man. It all comes together.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I don't like that though. And that's actually one thing I'll give the film credit for. Sometimes you just have a movie that's sad to be sad, and it's like, that's like one of the so you know, real quick, one of the small gripes I had for The Girl That Left Through Time is the ending felt sad for no reason. I mean, it wasn't super sad, but it was like, it was kind of melancholy, but I was like, did you really have to end it like that? You couldn't have made it like a little bit happier, a little more resolved. You know what I mean?
I haven't. I'm gonna have to watch that one too.
It is good.
I'm gonna have to rent it.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I would give it a 5.5 or 6 if I'm gonna be honest. But I think it's still worth a watch if you're interested. If you don't have much.
If I don't have anything else to do.
If you want, I mean, maybe even better than just that. But yeah, no, I think it's worth a watch. I just, at the end of the day, I wouldn't watch it again anytime soon. My hair's starting to get messed up, and so we gotta end this soon.
All right. Did you want to? Yeah, you didn't have anything else as far as like Oh yeah, anime journey.
Yeah, so we're gonna kind of talk about that since we didn't have much to talk about like this week in anime. We figured we'd do like a little discussion between us about where we started anime, our journey through it, why we decided to talk about it, maybe how we met and stuff. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
All right.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go here. I would say like I started like a normie with Dragon Ball Z, but yeah, came across like Dragon Ball Z and then kind of got into I got into Naruto kind of late. So I say like after that, Bobobo and all the kid animes like Pokemon and Digimon was out. And I just like, I just like the colors and the designs and stuff like that. It was really, a kid, you just care about, like, you don't really know about story. And so it was just like color designs and action and the rarity of like seeing it. Like, because sometimes it seems like, compared to everything else you watch on TV, like the animes would only come on certain times. So that rare factor to it made it something that was like, hey, this is This is a lot more interesting because I can't watch this whenever I want to per se. I can't get this aesthetic whenever I want to, and But after that, I got into Naruto kind of late. But my grandma saw that they called him a nine-tailed fox demon. She was kind of skeptical. Or what's the hesitant for me to watch it?
Yeah.
But then at one point I actually like got her to watch it with me, and I was like, in Japan they call it demons. The monsters and demons are about the same thing.
Yeah.
Cause like it's just the way they do it. Like but what I was going to I got into Naruto like 2009 I think 2000. Sometime during middle school or high school, because that's when Shippuden came out on Disney XD. And so that was like I got into it and I played a bunch of the games, the Ultimate Ninjas and the Clash and the Storms and stuff.
Gotcha.
But so after that, I was pretty much kind of into. When we finally got internet consistent, I tried to get into Fairy Tail, but I couldn't because. Now, that was before we got good internet, but we had internet, but it wasn't good.
Yeah, I know how that is.
But, and then after that, I tried after that, I got into My Hero and JoJo because of Toonami. That was one thing I could watch without a bunch of internet, but I got into JoJo's and Hunter x Hunter I was watching, and then we got good internet, and I started watching My Hero and stuff like that. So, basic shonens and seinens and stuff, Attack on Titan, all this stuff. And then we met towards like after my senior year of high school in the summer we did Lions Band together playing tuba, which is Mississippi Lions Band. That's our state band. And so we met. I think he was talking about Berserk and what he was talking about the time.
I don't know if it was Berserk, but it was something. I was talking about something. He came up and we started talking about anime and all sorts of different things. It was really cool. Middle of Las Vegas, two nutty boys.
We almost got.
I wasn't really interested in some of the debauchery going on in Las Vegas, so I was like, I'm just gonna talk about anime. That's probably the most uncool thing I've ever said, but I said it. But I like that. Before I kind of get into my I guess you could call it journey. What is your favorite anime and manga
of all time?
At least right now.
Right now. Shoot. Favorite anime.
Or at least one that stands out amongst the rest.
I'll say Kaguya-sama's Love is War.
Okay, yeah.
At least especially the first season.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I like that one. And what about, is that both anime and manga or just anime?
Anime, really. I hardly read manga, but I would say, I never really got a complete manga experience.
I get that. That's fine.
So it would just be like, I used to go to Walmart, they had the Shonen Jump.
Yeah.
So I used to read that a little bit too, catch a glimpse of stories and stuff like that. Didn't really get a full narrative or whatever, but just, it was, like I said, it was something foreign and unique and rare. So I was like, I get it.
I got you. Alright, so we'll go into mine. So I would say I'm a lot different. You said you had the normie approach. I had like the complete opposite. I was like born into it. Hear me out. Okay, so I had an older brother that was into anime. He got into it young, and so I basically always was into. And plus, like my mom enjoys it. Not to like as much like she'll watch it. If I recommend something, she might watch it with me. She's not in just blah blah blah. But like I grew up watching Studio Ghibli. In fact, I'm pretty sure. What is it called? Howl's Moving Castle was my first anime, if I remember right. Loved it. Obviously, still one of my favorites. I love all Ghibli's films. They're just great and family classicals. So I had that. Of course, watched Dragon Ball with my older brother because my older brother is cool and so was Dragon Ball. My opinions changed on it, but I still like it. At the point, I've always really had anime. I might not, maybe not like there's always been points in everyone's life, especially at our age, where it's like you might not have had the internet to watch or ease of access to watch anime. Thank goodness it's mainstream now and we can find it. So, why do I watch anime? Why do I like it? To be honest, I like it kind of because of what you said. It's a lot different than the media we have here at home in America. And I love, like Walking Dead and stuff. I don't watch anymore, but, I love all that stuff. But I really respect some of the traditions, some of the scenery, and especially, like, some of the just different takes on things that you get from anime, right? Something as simple as Naruto that takes like Jiraiya and all the and Tsunade and all these like traditional Japanese tales and like uses them as inspiration. Kind of like how Goku was inspired by Journey to the East, I believe.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's really cool to see that. That's one of my favorite things about anime, seeing that culture. I just find that fascinating, but also to see like how they both differ and also are similar to ours. Like you have like teen dramas is a big thing in both Japan and America because teens are a little bit angsty, but we love it. So we love watching stuff like that lets us be a little rebellious and all that. But in a more dramatic way than you would here at home. Anime is pretty dramatic. You don't have demigods fighting each other because they're mad in America, like you do in Japanese anime. Of course, there's a lot more complexity there, but that's the simplest. Now,
I think it's. Oh, go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
I think it's cool though because we have kind of taken on some of their tropes and some of their artistic approach, especially with that kind of bean head style, like it's almost like chibi bean head thing that's going on in like Western animation. And I haven't really gotten to those shows like that, but it's interesting to see how much it's kind of like a give and take. Because I think manga started because we gave it.
Yeah,
like,
so anime actually started because it was inspired by like old cartoons from America. It was, and the difference being is like over in America, cartoons are seen for kids, where in Japan. They might have started as that, but then they grew, and it's like, okay, teenagers can enjoy this, and adults can enjoy this. It doesn't really matter. I think that's one of the biggest differences is in America, there's this kind of stigma, yeah, about animation. It's getting better. I don't really like some of the adult-oriented animation films that come out. I think some of them try too hard to be, like, adult edgy in America instead of just trying to be a story.
Just like make everything. I mean,
because like
that makes sense.
What was that one movie with like Seth Rogen and all that about the freaking grocery store? You know what I mean? Like that movie, it was funny, kind of, but it was like it was just really edgy. I feel like, and it was like it's not what I'm looking for. Which anime is edgy. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like trying hard to be adult. And it also just does a lot. I could say
it's a mature approach to be for it's a mature approach to a mature audience. I guess you could say.
This is all summarizing. I need to shut up because I talk too much. But the animation allows you to do stuff that can break reality, right? And like I said, my criticism of American adult animations is that they they don't use that to their advantage. They use it to still be kind of childish. You know, they use dirty jokes and stuff to be adult. Whereas in anime, Japan, they use the ability to bend reality to create stories that are otherwise impossible, that are mature, exciting, and interesting. Right? So that brings me to my final thing. What is my favorite anime and manga? So I definitely know my favorite manga. Without a doubt, it's Berserk. I've been a fanboy of that like ever since I started reading it. I watched the original like 1996 Don't At Me anime, and you know, if anyone's ever watched it, you know how it has the hugest cliffhanger ever. So I instantly I read all of Berserk in one night when I first found it. I just there's nothing from there on. It's been my favorite. I love Berserk. I hope I get to see it finish one day. Takes forever to write chapters, but that is my favorite story for pretty much everything I just stated. My favorite anime though, that's a hard one. I have a lot that I like, but I think honestly my favorite anime is and this is just purely because of filling, and this could probably change. I'll probably look at this video and hate it. I think one of my favorite animes right now, and maybe not my favorite, but one that I'll definitely say I love, is Haiku.
Haiku.
Right. Not because, well, one, because it's a good story. It's really the author is really good at writing this you know, sport anime thing, and I never thought I'd be a sport anime guy, but I love them. But because it's my favorite, and this is gonna be cheesy, because it's the one show that I can sit down with my bro, my roommate in college, whatever you want to call him, my best friend. I can just sit down with him and just watch it, and we just love it. I mean, we could rewatch it. It's just one of those shows that I have that connection with somebody, and it just makes the show that much better. So I think that's my answer for now.
Dang, you giving me more reasons to watch it. I've been like, I started it, but I just like with everything else on my list, it was just like I don't know if I can. I feel kind of bad that I haven't finished Kuriko's.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball is like my sport.
There's plenty of anime I need to finish, so I can't blame you there.
It's like when I'm like doing music, it's like, should I start a new track or should I go finish what I did?
Mm-hmm. I got you. All right, so you know, to end the video. So here's what we gotta do. We gotta have the the good old discussion. So every time I turn, you know, you gotta edit that out. I don't like that. That's not my good angle. No, I'm just playing. I hope you all really enjoyed the stream. That was a voice crack. You can keep that in.
I will sample that. We'll put it in the riddle.
There you go. There you go. Is there anything else you think we need to talk about or discuss?
Nah.
Alright, well, you know, I really enjoyed it, as always. Next week, we'll try to have a little more. Hopefully there'll be a little more to talk about. But regardless, I thought this was a good discussion. Please watch my however you say it.
What, DJ Mike CW?
Oh, no, I'm talking about the movie.
Oh, Makia. Oh.
Makia, yes. I'm very bad with names.
Makia.
Give it a try. I think you'll like it, especially the ending. It'll get you. And then, just let us know what you think if you can, and get back to us. We'll be looking forward to watch next week, and we'll have something to recommend. Y'all have a good one.
You too. Wait. I don't know why I said you too.
You're keeping that in now.